This is my new to me 2013 Honda Accord. This was my sister's car that she drove for several years. My sister's kind of a badass, and she gets a new job, a new apartment, a new phone number every year, and then just sends me a text with all of the updated information. This year, however, the new apartment is in a different country. So, being the wild artist brother, I was the ultimate beneficiary of my sister leaving the country. This, of course, being the pièce de résistance. Now, as a car guy in Los Angeles, it's basically the best and worst place to be for an automotive enthusiast. There is all of the opportunity in the world to basically meet your heroes, and on a day-to-day basis, having a fun car absolutely sucks. So, today I am building the ultimate commuter, and it already gets about 32 miles a gallon. I'm not expecting to get much more than that, but we're gonna make discoveries like, has the cabin air filter ever been changed? And is there even anything left of the rear deck speakers? So, let's build this thing. They did wash it, or my sister did wash it and get an oil change for me, which is very nice of her. We're gonna see how well she took care of everything else. Step one, spark plugs. I gotta be honest, based off of how tight these were, it is not inspiring confidence that she ever changed these. Slide the plug out, pop this bad boy up. Regular ratchet, bit of an extendo. Uh-oh. Boys, I'm gonna need a bigger extension. This is what I came up with. Not my preferred solution. But it'll have to do. This feels like it's way too loose. I really hope this wasn't only in there finger tight. I'm confused. It almost feels like this isn't the right wrench size, and if it's only finger tight, I might cry. All right, so here's a new one. They're smaller. Jeez. All right, back to the drawing board. I'm glad I checked that. I have 2 spark plug sockets, and of course it was neither one of them. These things happen when you work on cars. My tool set is built to work on my motorcycle because that's what I've been working on for the last, ever. And my spark plug socket is too big. So honestly, I have to go get another one. That's embarrassing. That is, however, fine. At least the spark plugs weren't just hand tight. I mean, it's embarrassing as hell. And of course, pisses me off. But that's working on cars. However, there's 2 filters and the deck speakers that I still have to change, and I'm pretty sure I have all the right tools for those. So, air filter first, because it's in front of my face. Ooh, the box is gross. Yeah, it's not bad. Not great. Definitely seen worse. Definitely been used. There's a huge connection pipe for the intake right here. I kind of want to disconnect it and have a much shorter intake. Is that dumb? That sounds dumb. Sounds like fun though. All right, filter time. This is just a regular Fram drop-in filter. I thought about getting a K&N reusable washable one, but the oil is not good for mass airflow sensors. And because this is a commuter, and the air in Los Angeles sucks, this air filter is actually going to be doing a lot of filtering. So I didn't want to run it with like light oil to save my mass airflow sensor and then be actually destroying my engine. So I just got a regular replaceable one, and I'll take it out every 15,000 miles, put a new one in, no problem. I should take it out after 5 and see what it looks like. Now, this is the cabin air filter. My sister's fiance was definitely changing her air filter for. That had absolutely been done. The cabin air filter is the test to see how well they actually took care of this car. I'm willing to bet this and the spark plugs have never been done. Oh, that is so much better than I thought it was going to be. All right, good job, fiance. He must have changed this at a certain point, because that is not 114,000 miles worth of shit. That's a lot of miles worth of shit, but not 114. Cool. I did get a HEPA air filter because I still live in Los Angeles. Airflow that way. Now this was also labeled underneath here. Airflow down. Airflow down. Okay. I'm going to assume. Just push it in like that. Nice little click. This goes back up. And that's done. Okay, as I was packing up, I did find 2 out of 3 tools I was looking for, but not the right size. Big bug. Not the right size spark plug socket, which one is, you know, arguably I would say the spark plugs are more important than new speakers. But that's okay. I can solve that problem. Not before going to Chipotle first, because I haven't eaten yet today, but one step at a time. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And this brings us back to the initial question of the video, is what makes the ultimate commuter? I've driven sports cars. I drove a Ford Bronco for a couple of months. I had a big body Hyundai Genesis for a little while. These are all cars that I've worked on for my friends in the past. You know, that Ford Bronco was objectively terrible as a car. The brakes were bad. The motor was starving. The suspension needed to be rebuilt. The steering had, even though it was mechanical steering, there's so much rubber between, that's probably worn out between my fingers and the road, plus 33s. The steering was also terrible, but as soon as I turned on to Venice Boulevard and put the top down, not in that order, I'd put the top down first, then turn on to Venice Boulevard. Driving towards the beach at sunset, that car made all the sense in the world. I absolutely loved driving that car. I also had a big sound system in it. It was just great, except the terrible gas mileage and terrible dynamic capabilities. It was great. I was not worried about hitting anything. It could probably jump a curb. I wasn't really worried about getting hit. It was awesome. The Subaru, tons of fun, but I made the video about driving a manual transmission in Los Angeles. Totally possible, but you give up certain things. Like, you know, comfort in rush hour traffic, which, you know, you got to pick your battles, basically. I was a motorcycle commuter for the last 10 years. There is nothing better than driving home after a shoot day at Warner Brothers at 7 p.m. during sunset, or 7:30 p.m. during sunset. However, there is nothing worse than having to drive to Santa Clarita Studios at 6 in the morning on my motorcycle when it's freezing ass cold. So, you win some, you lose some. You know, to each their own. I never was a big body sedan guy. I always thought I wanted a Mazda Miata with a turbocharger, or one of those GR 3-cylinder turbo motors from the new new Corolla. Whew, that would be fun, especially if you could get the 4-wheel drive system. Anyways, gosh, this red light camera makes me so nervous. I always hate turning right on red here. But when I drove that Hyundai Genesis for, I think, 3 months I had it, I was immediately sold on the concept. I loved driving the big body luxury sedan. It only had a V6, so it was a little underpowered. But, you know, it still got like 22 miles a gallon, 24 miles a gallon on the highway. That's all you can really ask for in a car that weighs that much and was that comfortable to drive. There's nothing better than having the heated seats on with the windows down, driving to work in the morning. And that brings me back to the Accord. What do I really want from a commuter? I want good mileage, I want to be comfortable, I want a good sound system, and I want the air conditioning to work. I think those are actually what's important. So, this car checks all the boxes. When I filled it up, I'll put the screenshot in editing, but when I filled this thing up for the first time, it said 600 miles of range to empty. Now, I'm pretty sure this car doesn't have a 20-gallon tank. It does get 30 miles a gallon-ish. Looks like it's gone down to 28 now that I'm off the highway. I've gone 233 miles on that tank, and it still says 221 miles of range left. That's more like 550 instead of 600. But absolutely, that's what I want from the car I drive every day. What else do I want? Good air conditioning. This car has good air conditioning. I want a good sound system. This is the base model. Sound system's not great. New rear deck lid speakers will go along with... What is happening on this road? Why is there so many people here? I just want Chipotle. It's 1 mile away. It should not be too much to ask. Should I bail? I can't even bail. I'm trapped in the middle of this fucking cluster. Oh my God. I'm bailing. Now I can. Los Angeles at rush hour. I got to go 1 mile to Chipotle and 1 mile past that to Harbor Freight. I would normally just ride my bicycle, but I don't want to carry tools home on a bicycle from Harbor Freight. Also might get a floor jack today because kind of need one. I don't need one. Definitely want one though for doing the brakes on this. That'll be later. That'll be a different video. But, you know, I'm fixing the sound system. The filters were super easy to change. The spark plugs are super easy to change if you have the right socket for it. You know, there's really nothing on this car I can't fix, which again, just for a mile muncher, I can't think of what else I want. You know what I mean? I'm a truck guy. That's why I have the SUV and Rivian test drives, because I need a pickup truck for getting my motorcycle to the racetrack and back. I also need 4-wheel drive because I love to snowboard. What do you guys think? What makes the ultimate commuter for you? When do you think you make the decision? The Honda Accord is obviously fine now. When do you think a grand touring car or a big body sedan would be worth it? You know, obviously if I had the money for like an Aston Martin convertible, I would drive an Aston Martin convertible every day. But would that be any better than this? Yes, of course. In every way, shape, and form, it would be better. But what about it if I have to drive to work at 6 in the morning, because I got a 6:30 a.m. call time, and I got 25 miles to go between me and Warner Brothers Studios? What's better? would I be any happier sitting in traffic than I am right now? I think yes. I think we would all rather sit in traffic in an Aston Martin or a big body luxury sedan than a Honda Accord. But I don't think I could actually say what's better. It's the same air conditioning. It's probably a better sound system. It's the same Bluetooth, you know, talking to my mom as I sit in traffic. Yeah, baby. My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. They got a whole row of 10 millimeter sockets. You know something went wrong when you're in that row. It happens to the best of us. I have the right sized spark plug socket for a Honda Accord now. It's 14 millimeters. Maslow, don't you have a 14 millimeter deep socket? Yes. However, not deep enough for a spark plug. Also, it's nearly, or not impossible, but the whole point of a spark plug socket is that A, it's deep enough, and B, it has a little O-ring that grabs onto the spark plug when you lift it up out of the hole. Because otherwise you'd have to be grabbing around with needle nose pliers. Come on, CVT. Show me that efficiency. You'd have to be grabbing around the hole with some needle nose pliers. And, well, that will get her done. I changed enough spark plugs that I really don't ever want to have to do that. So now I have the full set. It was only $10. That's not bad for like 4 or 5 sizes of spark plug wrench. I really want a floor jack, but as long as I don't have to take the wheels off more than once, it's not really worth buying one just for that. I can handle taking them off one time the old-fashioned way. Because this car does need brakes. The only thing it actually needs is new brake rotors. But after 114,000 miles, I'm not that mad about that. And they did tell me about it ahead of time, so it wasn't, they didn't just spring it on me. I thought of more things I need from a commuter car. I need reliability. What's the difference between an Aston Martin and this? Well, I would obviously rather drive the Aston Martin every day, but 20% of the time it won't turn on when I turn the key, and that really puts a damper on the commuter experience. Also, ground clearance. I love coilovers as much as everybody else, but even in that stock height WRX, I was basically just tickling the bottom of the... I was tickling the bumper basically every time I tried to pull in to anywhere at all, ever. And sometimes you don't want to have to think about that. This has a little bit more ground clearance than the WRX, so I don't scrape it pulling out of my own driveway. And you know, that's pretty nice, because the WRX definitely did. If I went really, really slow, it would scrape just a little bit, but it would definitely scrape every time. I really wanted those speakers to be done today. I did find my little tab puller. I have actually a tool for that, so you don't break plastic tabs. I felt pretty stupid when I didn't have the right socket, my extensions were too short, and I couldn't find the tab puller, because I knew I had one. I also knew I had another extension, but I couldn't find either one, of course, until I packed everything up for the day. Ah, that's life. The star of the show, the right tool for the job. It's always annoying when you have to go buy tools specifically for the thing you've already started working on. In this case, a 14mm spark plug socket, because I had every other size except this one. But such is life, and life goes on. So let this cool down a little bit. I am racing daylight now. Not that I'm really concerned about it. But I did start this at like 1 in the afternoon. And it's now, I don't know. Not that. Okay, now, the right tool for the job in my double extendo. Ah, that feels like it's actually tight. Damn, baby. And that's the point of the spark plug wrench right there, or spark plug socket. It's pretty toasted. Which I expected. Definitely time for a replacement. It came with Densos. Oh wow, there's a lot of torching on the porcelain. Came with Denso iridiums. Look at the roasted edge right at the base. Wow. Not ideal. Snug that up real nice. And drop the coil back on. Plug it back in, and one's done. Okay, also toasted. Also got that weird discoloration around the base. Yikes. There's your problem right there. Get just a smidge of an extension. That's what I needed. You know, just that extra inch. Don't we all? Oh God. Always gotta stay on your toes when you're using the 10mm. It might just leave the chat. Might just bail on the whole project. Make you go buy another one. Then you find it sitting on a frame rail right when you're done. Oh, Jesus. All right, I think I'm gonna wrap this one up here and continue this commuter discussion at a later date. I thought I was going to be able to finish the speakers in this video too, but the sun's going down and it requires like entire removal of the rear seat. So that's not what I signed up for today. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hot rod everything.